everyone. This is the Ophthalmology Business Podcast, where we help you develop your ideal practice with the help of other doctors and experts. The topics we cover include marketing, management, leadership, recruiting, HR, mindsets, and more. I'm Ryan Davies, a digital marketing advisor of Equa Marketing and one of the co-hosts of this podcast. Every listener of this podcast is welcome to join the Ophthalmology Business Academy at www.obacademy.org, so www.obaacademy.org. The membership is on us, and it's our gift to you. And today, I'm excited. There's a little bit of a flip for us. So I'm really excited to talk to Narain Aururaja, our founder of the Ophthalmology Business Academy, ophthalmology marketing consultant, and the CEO of Equa Marketing. And our topic is, are your web pages convincing patients in 90 seconds or less to pick you? Narain, this is fun. I love these ones. I mean, you're my mentor in this area, really. And I think I'm so excited to learn from you and be able to kind of share with our listeners today a lot on this topic.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me today and being the host. But I see this as a kind of a co-speaker situation, Ryan.
Yeah.
You know a lot about marketing and this particular topic. Are your web pages convincing patients in 90 seconds or less? And why that is even important. Like, why do we need to convince patients in 90 seconds or less once they go to a landing page? So, of course, we'll start with that. But so I'm really looking to you for you to jump in, share your thoughts, because, let's have some fun and hopefully help our listeners learn some things that perhaps they didn't know before our conversation today.
Absolutely. Narain, you know me well enough. You're not going to be able to keep me quiet for 30 minutes here. So I'll be excited to jump in and have a really good, really great discussion about this. But I think let's rewind a little bit. And for those who may have missed our previous episode on Google SEO, can you provide us kind of a brief recap on why having a strong online presence and ranking high on Google is crucial for the success of ophthalmology practices?
Absolutely. I think that's a great place to start. I like to start with the end in mind. At the end of the day, like, if we don't know what we're trying to do and what our options are, we might choose the wrong option. So you are an ophthalmology practice owner. Yes, in the old days, you got a lot of referrals, but today that's becoming less and less because people are keeping services in-house and doing more and more services. So you need to market yourself, right? So what are your options? Digital marketing is how ophthalmology practices get 95% of their new patients from marketing. And within digital marketing, there are 4 buckets. Number 1, Google SEO. That's kind of showing up without paying money to Google near the top of Google search for hundreds of keywords. Number 2, Google Ads. Instead of showing up organically without paying any money, you pay for every click. So that's Google Ads. Some people call it pay-per-click. Number 3, Facebook ads, or what I call social media ads. So it could be Facebook, could be TikTok, could be any type of a social media platform, and you can buy ads and show up there. And the 4th one is organic social media. So think of Pimple Popper. If you're one of those people, by the way, of the 400 plus of doctors we work with, close to 500 now, less than 1% are like Pimple Popper. They love the camera, they love doing tons of videos, and they pretty much make it almost like a part-time job, minimum spending 20 hours a week. So of course, if that's you are in that 1%, definitely you should look into the social media option, just like Pimple Popper built this huge brand on Facebook and Instagram. But if it's not you, really, you have 3 options: Google Ads, social media ads, and SEO. The reason SEO is really critical is it is the lowest cost and the most effective. We have run experiments and studies, and we know well-done SEO will cost you 20% or less of Google Ads, sometimes even 10% once the SEO is really working. So it's a fraction of the cost of Google Ads. Compared to social media ads, it's even cheaper because social media ads is more expensive than Google Ads. So Google SEO is an awesome place to be if you want to have a long-term strategy where you have the lowest cost, most effective marketing. The other thing we covered in that episode is, we'll put a link to that full episode, is, Google SEO is a game where, because Google makes so much money from Google Ads, literally $224 billion, they make SEO hard. So only 5% of you will get all the free traffic, while the other 95% have to pay Google money to get paid traffic or Google Ads traffic. So the question is, how do we get into the top 5%? I'm going to flip this. Maybe you can talk about how can a practice get into the top 5% of SEO and get the 95% of the free traffic, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's really what the critical part is, right? And we talk about Google SEO as being that the first phase of the find you and then choose you part of the equation, right? So first you have to be able to be found. I like to say it's kind of like if you're an artist, but all of your paintings are in your basement, no one can find and appreciate your art and what you do, right? So really to do that in the world of ophthalmology and to do that to get to the top of Google, there's a lot of key elements, as you mentioned. They don't make it easy on you. You have to master quite a few different areas. Namely, you have to have it where is your website showing expertise and experience, authority, and trustworthiness. That's the Google EAT kind of formula that they want to see. That's kind of a little bit of that art side, if you will, of building your presence. But from a technical standpoint, Google wants to see a number of things as well, including your Google Lighthouse score. So again, I like to call this sort of the IRS for the internet. They're running live audits on every page on your site. So not just as a whole, right? But every single page of your site has to run this audit, and you have to master, does it technically perform well? Is it fast? Does everything load well? Is it the right formats? Is it fully accessible for people of all abilities and disabilities? Are you following security best practices? Do you have the table stakes for SEO in terms of the tags and the titles and the links and all of that sort of stuff? Do you have external backlinks and a high quality white hat backlinks, not just stuffing your page with a bunch of them for the sake of having there that have no value? Do you, are you collecting high quality love letter Google reviews? So are you driving people and showing that expertise and trust and authority? There's lots of elements that add up to this that are going to build how you're going to rank at the top. You can't master just one of them. You need straight A's on your report card across the board to bring all of these forward. And once we're able to do that, Google kind of says, yeah, this is somebody that answers the questions people are looking for. They're trusted, they're liked, they have authority in this area. We are going to vet them and rank them at the top. And that's really the value that Google brings. That's why we go there. We know that if we click at the top, Google's already vetted those pages to say, these are people that do what you're looking for, are answering the questions, and are good at their job. So that's why we don't scroll to page 7 and go, gee, I wonder if I should click on someone on this page. It's not a lottery. Google's already put the winners at the top, right? So you need to build that to get to the top so that you can be found. Because if you can't even be found, no one can choose you. No one can buy your art if it's sitting in your basement. It needs to be hanging on a gallery wall, right? So that's really what we want to focus on is how crucial that is to bring in those new patients and for people to discover what you do and why you're so great at it.
Absolutely, Ryan. And you are a wealth of knowledge. I know you spend like tons of hours before you talk to ophthalmology practice owners. And one of the things you do is to figure out on these 6 things that Google cares about, how is each practice doing, right? Are they getting an A, B, or C? And then regardless of whether it's a C or a B or an A, how do they get to an A in a reasonable time frame? I think something that I guess my dad told me once is like most of us get lost, not because we don't work hard enough, not because we are not smart enough, just that we don't have the right strategy or the map to get somewhere. Like imagine you're going from point A to point B pre-Google, GPS days. You need the right map. Somebody gives you the wrong map and calls it Chicago, but it's really a map of New York, and you're trying to navigate Chicago with a map of New York. You're going to get lost. Doesn't matter how smart you are. Doesn't matter how hard you try. So I think one of the things that you provide is that map. Like, okay, if you want to have the lowest cost, best marketing working for you, where do you stand? Where are you today? And how do you get to the destination where you are dominating SEO and really have an unfair advantage compared to your competition?
Absolutely. Yeah. I always get people because I'm rather tall, right? As you know, so I always get people, oh, you must play basketball, right? And it's like, you get that all the time. If you're really tall, you got to play basketball. But if you've never been coached basketball, you don't know the game. It's a wasted talent. Same thing. You're an ophthalmologist. You've got all the credentials. You've got everything there. You should be really dominating what you do. But if you don't know how to do it, no one's taught you the game before. You just have the skill set, but no one can recognize that, right? So that's really what we want to do is bring that forward. And really, I think that starts with a patient's. Again, we've built that website. But that website has to be technically sound. The NAP has to be name, address, phone number standard good. Google reviews backlinks. We've talked about all that kind of stuff, original content. When we build all of those items, now we've got you ranking, right? We're going to talk about let's make that, you've got that done. But what happens when a patient first comes to the website? What do they need to see? Because I think, one of the key points you talked about was Google SEO gives you basically 90 seconds of attention span when someone clicks on you. If someone comes organically, you've got 90 seconds to capture their attention and get your message across. So what are those key elements, I think, in your opinion, Noreen, that are going to, make someone successful from that standpoint?
Absolutely. So you are correct. So the way 90% of the patients do things is they go to Google, they type in something, and they click on that organic result at the top, right? Nobody goes to see ads. So they click on that result, they're on your page. If they come through SEO, they're giving you 90 seconds because they trust you because it's an organic result, the one that they were looking for. If they come through an ad, because they don't trust ads, they'll only give you 15 seconds. Let's give ourselves the benefit of the doubt. Let's assume you are crushing SEO, you are in the top 5%, you are getting traffic from SEO. Now they're giving you 90 seconds. Remember, 90 seconds still is not a lot. Yes, compared to 15 seconds, it's 600% more. Like, in other words, 90 divided by 15 is 6x difference. But still, it's a minute and a half. It's not a lot of time. So we have to quickly convince them that you are the right choice for them, right? So typically when patients are going to a doctor's website, they're asking 3 questions. Are you an expert? Let's say I need, I have glaucoma, right? Are you an expert in treating glaucoma, right? Really simple, right? Today we live in this crazy world where we just want experts. Like, for example, I remember 25 years ago, there was one type of sushi restaurant, and every one of those restaurants looked like a Benihana or wannabe Benihana. Today, there are so many different types. There is the flame sushi, and there's the designer sushi. Like, there's somebody invents new stuff. There is the South American sushi. I mean, there's all kinds of flavors of sushi, and even within Japanese food, there is places that sell soups and noodles and all different variations. They're all specialized, right? So we live in this world where we need specialists. We want the best for the thing we are interested in. So they are googling glaucoma, and you show up. First question is, are you an expert, right? How do you convince them that you have treated a lot of patients just like them for glaucoma and they have had awesome outcomes? I'm giving a simple example. The second question they're asking is, do I like you, right? Because the customer base, the patient base kind of have this fear of doctors. They feel that doctors, don't have time to listen to them, talk to them. Sometimes they know too much, where like they feel like, stupid for even asking questions because the doctor is throwing around jargons and buzzwords that doesn't make any sense to them, right? So if they feel stupid and if they feel like you're not somebody they can relate to, they are kind of apprehensive coming to you. So one of the things you want to do is you want to get them to like you. Remember, you have to do all of this in 90 seconds, getting them to see you as an expert and getting them to like you. Last but not least, you need to get them to trust you. What I mean is, especially a lot of the optional services, like you want that you want that surgery because you don't want to be wearing glasses anymore. It costs money. It's out of pocket many times if you want the best technology. Now, anytime we are spending money, we want to, and especially anytime somebody's messing with our eyes, we want to go to somebody we trust, right? So trust is important. So that's where incorporating Google reviews and things like that. So one of the things we focus on, there's 2 parts to what we do. One is helping you dominate Google, meaning rank for 100 or more keywords. And then the second part is, once you are ranking and you're crushing Google, when people go to those landing pages, are we convincing them by doing these 3 things well? Yes, I'm an expert. Yes, you can trust me. Yes, helping you like me. So those are the 3 things you need to pay attention to in those 90 seconds.
I think it's a perfect, I think we could even break down those a little bit more of, we want to find out, because I think that's the big question. How do I make someone like me on a website? How can I build trust properly on a website? And how can I show my expertise while not making it read like a Wikipedia page, like you said, where it's all these technical terms and I'm just info dumping, right? So if I think let's start with what I think is probably should be the easiest, but is always the most overlooked on a site, is how can you use your website to make your patients like you? Because I think, again, I see all the time, well, I've got all the information about glaucoma on my page. That's great. So does everybody else. There's nothing personal about it here. It reads like it's like a Wikipedia article, shows you're a great wealth of information, But then they say, well, how come I have a huge bounce rate? How come I'm not getting bookings? Because people read it and then they go, great, I got all the information I need. I'm going to go back and I'm going to find somebody I like now to do this service. Now that I know what I should be looking for, right? So they're basically using and abusing your website. So let's talk about that. I think first is how do you use your website to make patients like you? I know, like for me, I think a lot of it is, again, have personality, have original content, use video and audio. But Narain, your thoughts on that? Where have you seen the most successful websites from when it comes to likability?
Great question. There are I mean, both you and I took the Dr. Robert Cialdini's course. I'm certified to teach, and you, of course, certified to practice his principles. Of course, those of you who don't know Dr. Robert Cialdini, he's God when it comes to marketing and influence. And he talks about 6 principles of influence. And if you use those principles, you are now in a position to convince your people a lot more than you would be otherwise. So in other words, you get 3 times better results in convincing people to do what you want them to do, accept treatment, pick up the phone and call your office, whatever it is, right? And one of those principles he talks about is liking. And he says there are 2 ways why people like us. One is we have something in common, right? Say, hey, I have a young family, you have a young family, we have something in common. Because we have something in common, we like that person because we feel like they can relate to us. We feel like we can understand them and they will understand us. I know in the old days when, or even now, one of the things they talk about when somebody's running for president is this person likable, right? If the voter feels like he can have a beer with you or sit and have a chat with you, they're much more likely to vote for you than they feel a little bit, put off. Like Kerry was known, like he was smart and everything else, but he just came across as this guy who's riding horses, something that most of us don't do. Yes, there is a few people who do, but it's such a niche thing. So he did things that didn't make him a common person. He did things that kind of made him kind of weird and different. So that likability kind of hurt him. At least that's what the experts said, because he didn't do a good job in getting people to like him, as opposed to his opponent, George W. Bush. He was likable, easygoing. He had this accent, somebody that they could see themselves having a beer with and having a chat with. He would joke around.
Sitting in baseball games and hanging out. And yeah, exactly. Right. It was your classic average Joe personality that came out. But you're absolutely right. Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. And so how do you do this on your website? Like simple 101 dummy mistake that a lot of people do is, like you said, Brian, they put a lot of content, but there's nothing personal. Imagine having a 45-second, 1-minute video. Hey, I'm Dr. James. I became an ophthalmologist 17 years ago, and I love treating patients with glaucoma. You are on my glaucoma page. I have a few examples of what I've done, and some of the articles you might be interested in. Check it out. And I also have a couple of other videos where I explain commonly asked questions that my patients always want to know about, and you might enjoy this. Welcome to my page. Have fun. Just welcoming them, just making them feel at home, right? How many of practice owners are doing that? It sounds so basic and mundane, but that's what gets people to like you. Because remember, in the old days, they liked you after they met you, but now they won't even call your office, leave alone come to your office till they like you. So you want to get them to like you online right after they arrive at your page from Google.
Yeah, I think it's just a huge point. And again, I love how you keep saying when they arrive at your page, not necessarily your whole site. I always talk to practice owners about this, where they go, well, I have an about me page on my site, and it kind of gives you that information. And it's like, that's great. But when someone Googles glaucoma, they don't go learn about the doctor first and then learn about glaucoma second, right? You need to have a little bit on each of that page, a little sprinkle of magic, at least, of this is me, this is my personality, this is something here that you can have at least a teaser, right? Some breadcrumbs, something that would drive you to maybe that about me page or about us page or whatever it is. But don't forget about the fact that, again, how we surf a site, we surf our sites is I go to the homepage and I look through everything, and then I go to the next page and I go through it. Google drives us to a page, right? So you need to know that when people, you have that first 90 seconds, you have that on that page to some extent, some degree, an introduction, something to you that's going to want people to make them want to learn more about you, drive more clicks, increase stickiness on that page, and get patients to like you. So I think that's again, like you said, that personality, everyone's got something that's in their personality try and find some commonalities, try and find, again, even just the subliminal things, right? A picture of you and your family means, oh, it's a family person. If you don't have kids, maybe it's a dog. If you don't have kids or a dog and you're just somebody who's single, maybe it's just you golfing, or do it something that there's something there that you can enjoy, right? So I think that could get those people, again, those little things to make them like you. Now, when we talk about likability, we also, as you mentioned, we want to use the website and those pages to build trust. So what is, again, I think there's a lot of elements here. We talked about the importance of reviews and testimonials and things like that. Narain, I know this is something you do incredibly well. And any conversation we have where we have a joint conversation with a client, you drive this home so well about building trust on your pages and on your site. So I'll get your thoughts here and to share with our listeners on the importance of building trust and how to do it.
Absolutely. SEO is super, super, super hard. It takes a lot of Herculean effort week after week, month after month. The good news is we can do it for you. We can do 95% of that. One of the few things we cannot really do it for you is getting those Google reviews. So we'd provide a tool. It's called growmyreviews.com, but you need to ask those happy patients to write those reviews. And of course, we teach you how to do it. We, of course, leverage Dr. Cialdini's influence principles. So you're getting what we call love letter reviews, but you have to do it. One of the goals I tell all my clients, and I'm sure, Ryan, you have heard me say, is, you want to be the practice with the most number of Google reviews in your area, right? And at the very least, try to get 10 reviews a month, right? That's like the minimum bar. Of course, part of what we do is like train you and give you the tools and the techniques to achieve that. But it's really, really critical. Now, the mistake that a lot of people do, even the ones with good reviews, is they don't know how to leverage those reviews, both to convince people, right, in those 90 seconds, and then also to help with Google Lead. Maybe you can elaborate on, like, let's say I'm on a landing page. So, cataract surgery, right? So I'm on that cataract page, and you have these reviews where people talk about how you made a difference in their life with the surgery you did, right? Talk about how you would incorporate reviews, Ryan, on that landing page. So for both Google Lead standpoint, because in Google Lead, which is one of Google's 6 key things it looks for, T stands for trust, which is all about Google reviews. Also, we know patients will not choose you if they don't trust you.
There's lots of different elements that you can use there, right? And I think the most basic is, again, leveraging those reviews. So collecting, when you talk about Google reviews, you want to focus on 3 elements: the quantity, the quality, and the velocity of them. As you mentioned, 10 a month. That doesn't mean 10 on the first day of the month and then you book it off and then you're good until the first of the next month. Like consistently reviews coming in and getting love letter reviews where they're mentioning, who they saw, what service they had done, and why other people should trust them to come and see them, why they enjoy coming there. Lots of positive sentiment. Then taking those and positioning them on your website, right? So having a testimonials, having some reviews on each page that speak to, if you've got one specific to that service, even better, like I came here for cataract surgery and now my life has been changed, right? But even if it's just I love coming here, this is a great place, 5-star, positioning them, keeping them fresh, updating those reviews, all important. Before and after type photos and things like that for results that have changed and whatnot. My daughter is, as my daughter has a really bad eye turn. She's got some, strabismus and other conditions that are happening there. So she's had here's the before and she's going for surgery right away. She's going to have here's the after, and we're going to, holy crap, what a difference, life-changing, right? To see stuff like that and understand what that looks like. So that type of element builds trust in, you can do what I'm looking for, and you have social proof. Again, one of Cialdini's principles, you have social proof that you can do this. So don't just trust me, listen to third-party sources that have been verified that speak to the expertise and how you've been able to impact their wellness and their life from that perspective. So it's really, again, positioning that on the page. Another thing, as you mentioned with the Grow My Reviews, we have Grow My Testimonials as well. You want to collect audio and video testimonial reviews. Those are even more powerful. Yes, they're harder to get, but every practice has those patients that are, type A personalities that don't mind being in the spotlight, that love gushing about what you do. Take advantage of that. Ask for those reviews. Be able to position a video on your website. Someone clicks on it in their own words, says, I came here and it changed my life. It's just an incredible thing to see, right? And to hear. And again, play on the fact that we learn three ways. People are audible learners, visual learners, and kinesthetic learners. Well, I can't really touch and feel a website, but you do need the visual, the reading, and you do need the audio for people to hear it as well. Really absorb on everybody's senses to be able to build on that trust and position it on each page, especially for, again, if you've got those reviews that relate to the service that you're talking about, you knock it out of the park with that. It makes it a no-brainer for people to say, wow, now I like you. Now I trust you. I see you could do this. I've heard you can do this. And people are going to want to book. I think the last piece, which is the easiest one, is displaying expertise on their website, right? And I think this is what most practice owners do pretty well, because I mean, you're all experts in this, so it's easy to put it up there. But there's a few caveats, I think, that really set people apart. And as you mentioned, don't get too complicated with it. Don't over explain. Make it easy for people to digest. Don't make it when people come there, they have to scroll 9 pages down because they go, "Oh, this is daunting. I can't read all this," right? So, Narain, what else, from an expertise standpoint, that you see people are positioning very well?
Absolutely. I think the key, you mentioned it, like you have to explain things in a way where a fifth grader can understand. Because if you can talk to a fifth grader and they get it, then of course you're talking to everyone. And that makes the patient feel comfortable, right? Because their biggest fear of most doctors is, you are smarter than me, you know more than me, and I'm going to look like an idiot to even and I don't want to even open my mouth. If I don't want to open my mouth, I can't even tell you what I want. That way I won't be happy because you don't even know what I want. So it just goes into this cycle, because most people don't like to look stupid or look dumb in front of a smart person. So the more you can explain things in layman's term, I think that's key. Now, when it comes to expertise, you already alluded to this. Before and afters are great. Especially, we are seeing more and more ophthalmology practices getting into aesthetics. So you've done certain things, and you can showcase the outcomes, right? Nothing, like, what do they say? A picture is worth 1,000 words.
Right.
Like nothing is as good as a picture kind of showing the outcomes you have been able to produce to show that you really are good at this. Of course, don't just put up the pictures, explain what happened, like what the patient wanted, what you did, and how the patient felt at the end of it. So it's a great way for you to position yourself as an expert. I mean, almost like a case presentation. So of course, for a layman, not for a fellow ophthalmologist, but somebody who doesn't know anything can understand what you did and what kind of an outcome it created. You want to be seen as the expert, right? Like if you are going back to that sushi example, if you are that person who's seen as the best flame sushi place in town, that everybody talks about, everyone, if money is not an object, they're going to come to that place first. Of course, if they can't afford it, they will look at the second and the third. Of course, you are an MD. You don't want to be a commodity. You don't want to be the lowest cost provider. You want to be seen as the best. And expertise is a way, like, you can position yourself as the best.
Yeah. And I mean, like, what do we do when we go to like you said, the sushi restaurant? Do we go and read their menu, or do we go, wow, that looks good? That's always what people say, that looks good, right? We want to see, it there, right? And the other thing I think that I want to touch on just very briefly that ties, I think, between the trust and expertise, again, with the Google Eat is authority. And I think that also does help with the expertise is put your credentials up there. If you've had speaking engagements, if you've had any awards, we do doctors awards, as you know, Doctor's Choice Awards, things like that. That does help, again, build trust and expertise in going, wow, I can see their background. I understand their experience that's here. And that kind of bridges that gap between expertise and trust by showing that authority that you have in the area and the credentials you have to back it up. So don't miss out on that. Make sure that those pieces are all there. And I think, when you've got your patients to like you, you've built trust, you've showcased your expertise and your authority, it's all there. The biggest drop off I always see is, now what? And there's no call to action. They don't ask for somebody to come and see them, or it's in this convoluted like link of like book now, and it's this small little, like, people can't catch it, right? So I know, again, this is something you do really well with the design phase, with the psychology phase, is having a clear and compelling call to action. So within that 90 seconds, people are going to book. What are some of those elements that are going to make that effective as well?
Absolutely. I mean, even today, majority of new patients, especially the ones who don't have a relationship with you, they will come through the phone because they have some questions and they want to talk to somebody right now, get the answers before they book, right? They might know 80%, but there's 10 or 20% they're not really sure of. put that phone number in a very visible way and make it clickable on your smartphone. So they don't even have to punch it in. So they go to your website because you're ranking on Google. They're on your glaucoma page or, a cataract page, and then they can just press the button and the phone rings. So make it super easy. A lot of common mistakes we see is most websites are not optimized for mobile devices. So on a desktop, it looks perfect, but I go to a mobile, I can't find the phone number. I have to hunt for it. And today, nobody likes to hunt, right? I mean, think of the Uber mindset, right? Uber says 3 minutes. I don't wait. I click out and go and get something that's only like a minute away, right? Or maybe three. I'm exaggerating. Maybe not three, but if it says 5 minutes, I'm not waiting for sure. Anything more than more than a couple of minutes. So it's the same mindset. People want instant answers, so you want to make it easy for them. So make that call button easy to click. And just like you need to have a call to action on your website, you need to train your people. This is a bonus tip. It's outside the scope of our conversation today because our conversation is about the page that they go to and how do we convince them in 90 seconds. But when the phone rings, are your team members who are answering the phones asking for an appointment? We do call reviews, at no extra cost. And, we incorporate that intelligence into what we do. And what we are finding is most people don't even ask for an appointment. That's like 101 rookie mistake. And unfortunately, the average healthcare practice, including ophthalmology practice, only is booking one out of three new patient appointments. So that means 2/3 of all your marketing is just going to waste. So you need to make sure all these things are tight. Your landing pages are tight, your SEO is spectacular, and of course, finally, the way you answer the phone. And of course, how do you know? Track your calls, set up call tracking. Basic 101 mistake. A lot of doctors will say, oh, my team is awesome, but they don't know because they know they don't listen to the calls. They don't have data to say, is the conversion rate 80% or is the conversion rate 10%? So those are some of the key things you need to pay attention to.
I think that's absolutely perfect, right? It's that you got to close the loop there, and not having a clear call to action, as you mentioned. The number one rule that we always talk about is don't make me think, right? People don't want to have to come there and think and work their way through something. They want it handed to them, right? We're a very instant gratification society, as you mentioned. I'm not waiting 9 minutes for an Uber when I could get a Lyft in 2. So see you later, right? Like, and off I go. So you got to make sure that we are providing that, and that you have that front and center, very easy for people to use. And again, talking to your mobile point there, so critically important, so often overlooked. And mobile, I mean, you're getting 2/3 plus of the traffic now from mobile devices. People, that is how we search and consume and do everything now. Is our life is in our hands, literally, with our phones and things like that. So make sure that you've got that optimized, and that you're not just going, when I look at it on a desktop, looks great to me, but when I look at it on my phone, I'm like, I don't know where I'm supposed to go or how to make the call or do anything. You're literally on your phone. Like, it should be one touch and off you go. That's the whole point of what you're trying to accomplish there. So I think you know what, that's a great place to kind of tie it all together. We talked about, again, do they like you? Do they trust you? Are you an expert? And now that I've proven it, how easy it is to call you and book that all important first appointment. But I think, as you mentioned, the roadmap for getting there is challenging.
I think we gave a lot of pointers that would apply to a lot of practices, but unfortunately, every practice is different. Every practice has unique needs. They're in a different place. Some are doing well in NAP, for example, but they are doing poorly in Google Eat or Google Lighthouse Score. Or the doctor doesn't even know what Google Eat or Google Lighthouse Score is, right? So everyone is unique. So what if, as a next step, we offer a marketing strategy meeting at no cost with you if you're okay with it. And, I know you spend 6 hours prior to the meeting. One of the things you do is you look at how well they're doing with SEO. Like, if you're ranking for 100 or more keywords on page 1 or top 10 results of Google, you're crushing SEO. You are in the top 5%. But only 5% of the people are doing it. So more than likely, you are not in the top 5%. But anyway, so Ryan would review how you are doing with Google. And if you're not in the top 5%, what you need to do to get to the top 5%, he'll literally give you a plan, 12-month step-by-step plan. So is it okay, Ryan, if we offer them a marketing strategy meeting and they can just talk to you and really come up with a plan they can now implement, both on the SEO side and also on the, 90 seconds? In other words, are we convincing people in 90 seconds to pick up the phone and call the office, or we are doing a poor job?
Absolutely. I think, again, that's as you mentioned before, if you don't know the next step, it's hard. And I think that's the next step for a lot of people, is understanding where they are today. And that's something I can provide for them, is that. And then we can talk about, okay, so here's where you are, here's where we need to get to, here's the plan to get there. So absolutely, you can book directly with me. My link is www.obacademy.org/MSM/Ryan. That's me, my name. And definitely do that. I'll go one further too, because I know I've had a couple people that have asked, and I always, my personal cell phone is there for anybody who needs it. So 204-898-0528. Please feel free. Give me a text, give me a call if there's something that you want to talk about. Let's book that meeting. It's very valuable. I promise, I go through a lot, and we'll make a custom plan for you. I think you're right. There's a lot of good general points here, and I think, really digging down for your practice is what's going to provide the most value.
Yeah, and we are big on data, so we survey the people who do these meetings, and many of them even write reviews for us. 89% of the people said they learned something that they never knew before about marketing. They felt it was one of the best marketing meetings they ever had with you, Ryan. So kudos to you. The link again is obacademy.org/MSM/Ryan. We'll put it in the show notes. obacademy.org/MSM/Ryan. And also, Ryan, repeat that phone number again, because I think you went a little too fast.
Yeah, so 204-898-0528. And that goes straight to the same number that my wife and kids and everybody else has. So maybe you can, take some of those phone calls away from me and not have as many from them. So that's great. Please take advantage. I'm very happy to talk to anybody that's looking for that next step and wants to dominate Google, wants to bring those new high ROI patients to them that don't know how to find them. And that's really what we do so well here, Narain. So I thank you so much for thank you for that. That's great. Perfect. So with that, I think that's a great place to kind of close off for us here. So Narain, thank you so much for joining us today and talking about, are your Webpages convincing patients in 90 seconds or less to pick you. We appreciate it so much. It was fun to have you on the other side today.
Thank you. I had fun too, Ryan. And as you can hear from my voice, my energy is really up. And yeah, anytime I do these things with you, it's just fun. So
yeah, we have a blast with these. So I'm sure our listeners got a lot out of it. I want to take a moment to thank them. We appreciate each and every one of you, and we cannot do what we do without you. If you like our podcast, please kindly share it with your friends and on social media. Tell people about it, and please don't forget to write a review on iTunes or Google Play. Your reviews will help other doctors and practice owners find us. As we mentioned, it's so critically important for us. So for your practice, for us. So thank you so much for that. Until we meet again, wishing everyone an amazing week ahead. Take care, everybody.